Knowledge is power. Make an impact by learning more. Call us right now for more help at 866-945-8070. Hello, and welcome to another spectacular screencast brought to you by none other than yours truly, Seth David from the world-famous Nerd Enterprises Incorporated. This time we're talking about everything you need to know about your customers in QuickBooks Online. One of the first things I do whenever I start a new company in QuickBooks Online is I go into the settings. So that's probably the first thing you should do. And I actually go through all the settings, but here obviously we're going to focus on the customer-related ones. Now, very often in QuickBooks, when you're looking for anything having to do with the customer, menu-wise, you're going to look for the word sales. Sales, obviously, is everything customer, right? Everything that has to do with the customer has to do with sales. That's why we have customers. That's why we started our business, is we wanted to provide some product or service to our customers. And without customers, of course, there is no business, right? There's just an idea for a business. So you go through your sales-related settings, and you'll see the first thing is you can go right in and customize the look and feel of your forms, right? You can go in here, and I encourage you to plan on spending an hour or two at some point right in the beginning, going through these settings and playing around with what you want your invoice to look like. I've had clients reach out to me and tell me, I don't want to migrate to QuickBooks Online because we've really heavily customized our invoice forms in QuickBooks Desktop, and we can't do that in QuickBooks Online. And the answer is you can do it. And in fact, in every case so far, I've been able to replicate my customers, or sometimes in the beginning prospective customers, invoice form where I've said, give me a copy of your invoice and I will get an invoice designed in QuickBooks Online. It may not lay out exactly the same way, but it'll have all the exact information that yours has. And I'd argue many of these templates look even better, right? So there you have it. So anyway, get into this, spend some time with it. I'm not going to, that could be a whole other video I do on how to customize your invoices in QuickBooks Online. So let's go back to the settings. You do get into a bit of a loop here once you do that. So go back to the gear icon, go to Account and Settings and into Sales, and then go through everything else that's here. So you click in, as you saw I just did, right? If I click into this area, it kind of activates it. So now I can get in and choose what things I want turned on and what things I don't. And if you're not sure, you know what? Just turn on everything. All right, custom fields, this will say on once you put something in one of these, right? Hello. And then if I say save, now custom fields are still off. Okay, I forgot how to turn. Oh, you have to check something off here, then it turns it on. Duh. So once you check off that you want to use it internally, you have to do at least that much. And then the question is it public or not, right? But once I check off one of these, then it'll say on right there. So this is not something you'll need unless you actually have a specific use case for the custom fields. Anyway, go through, turn everything on. Then you get into your products and services, and it asked me if I wanted to save my changes before switching sections. I said no. And notice I've got everything here, including the new price rules, turned on, and I just recently did a video on that. So just look for that. It's in our blog. It's in the recent posts if you're watching this one. And I've turned on tracking quantity and price rate, and also tracking inventory quantity on hand. Again, these are things you don't necessarily need if you don't sell inventory, right? But go through each of these sections in the sales setup, in the settings for sales. All right, next, how do we access customers in QuickBooks Online? Again, we're looking for sales. So now we're in our left navigation and click sales. Now, normally by default, when you click sales, you'll probably be here in all sales. Notice across the top, we can manage everything related to our customers right here from the sales menu, including the sales, the invoices, the customers, which we're going to go into in a second, and the products and services that we sell to those customers. So it's all accessible right from here. Of course, if you click on customers, you have your entire customer list. The search box here comes in really handy, especially once you have a lot of customers, right? Once you click into a customer, then you have this little sort of condensed area on the left here with your customer list. So if I wanted to switch to something else, I can by simply typing in what I'm searching for, right? And I can, these customer names obviously are a little jumbled up. I just mixed up letters from a real customer list from a client, so I had to have sample data to play with. So you can easily switch back and forth, or click this customer's link right here to get back to the sort of master list. I was looking for that one. I forgot it was 0.1 instead of 1 point. So again, just to prove to you that it works, if I go in here and type 0.1, now that'll come up. Right? You can almost make out what these words actually were before I jumbled up the letters. So that's how you can access customers. The other thing is, if I know what I'm looking for, if I know I'm looking for my customer called Always Right, I can actually type it right here in the global search. And notice, just as I've typed the word always, it comes up here, Always Right Inc., and it shows me that this is a customer, it's giving me a customer in my search results. So I can click there, and so that's another way to get into and access to customer details. If I want to shrink up this list because it's in my way and it's annoying while I'm trying to work on my customer, then I click on this little guy right here, and that will minimize this menu. And of course, if we really want to focus, I can also minimize the main navigation. So I have plenty of space to work with here, right? Here's a transaction list. Here are my customer details, right? And if I want to get into and edit the customer details, from here I can click Edit. I can also click Edit up here. Same exact thing, right? Either way, gets me into this dialog. This, by the way, is the same dialog I get when I go to create a new customer. So I'll show you where you can do that from in just a minute. But first, a couple of important things. The only thing that matters, the only thing that you need, the only required field here is the display name as, right? I can have nothing else anywhere else, and I'd be fine. So if you're on the fly, and this is one thing I mentioned in the write-up, if I decide I'm here at the dashboard and I just really quickly need to get an invoice out to a customer, so I go to create a new invoice, but I didn't add my customer in yet. So not to fret, you can click the drop down, you can choose add new, or you can just type the name of the customer, and if that customer name isn't already in the list, QuickBooks Online is going to ask you to set that up. So let's just say we have a customer called Seth David. Right? And sure enough, there it is. It doesn't see Seth David, so it says add Seth David. Now, I can just quickly add it on the fly, right, and hit save, or if I click details, it launches that dialog. So if I just hit save on the fly, oh, it looks like we already have this name in here. So I think I might have myself in there as a vendor. So let's just put C in parentheses so we can create the customer version. And that creates me. So now if I go back out to the list, go back to sales and customer, and I type Seth, there it is, Seth David C. And if I go to edit, notice it put that into display names. That's the only required field, right? But let's say the company really was Seth David Incorporated, and the contact name is Seth David. Now in this display name dropdown, I can click the dropdown, and it will come up with standards based on either company name, first and last name, or last name, comma, first name. Those are the standard kind of names that you can use. Or if I want to, I can type anything else in the display name as field. So I can call it Mixelplix, right, and hit save, and that's what this customer is going to be called. And it doesn't matter if I go to invoice the customer, that isn't going to show up on the invoice form. It just shows up here, but notice the address, all the information, it's all just the regular information. If I go to preview this, I guess I have to enter a line item, so never mind that. But rest assured, this name will only show up internally. It's an internal thing. And at any given time, I can go back into the dropdown and just change it. Okay, so setting up the new customer, let's go back into the dialog. So you can create the new customer on the fly while you're creating the invoice, or you can just go to the customer list and choose new customer, right? And most of this information is very straightforward. I'm not going to walk you through it. Obviously, you should put their email in. This is the year 2017 when I'm recording this. I hope you're not printing invoices and mailing them to people. If you are, shame on you. You should absolutely be emailing it to customers. It's faster, it's easier, it saves time and costs a lot less money because you don't need paper and postage. Anyway, hopefully I shouldn't have to even have that discussion. If you want to, if I wanted this to be a sub-customer of another customer, we just check off here where it says is sub-customer, click on the drop-down, and I can make my Seth David Inc. company a sub-customer of this West Parish Elementary School, right? So that's how you create sub-customers. Why would you need to? You have multiple jobs you're doing for the same customer. So you create the customer, then you create each job and check off as sub-customer. and link it up to its parent customer, right? The other thing I wanted to review down here is the tabs across the bottom. Again, this part's pretty straightforward. It's an address. We all know how that works. Notes, this is a great place to put billing instructions like bill 25, watch this, 100 per month, plus reimbursed expenses marked up 25%. The reason I say this, especially for this kind of use case, is when I save it, notice what that does. It puts it up here. So this note is accessible, and I've used this a lot with clients when I was doing their billing for them, where we put the billing instructions right up here because it makes it easy. I don't want to have to go digging for their contract and finding the section that discusses how they're billed. This way I can summarize the billing instructions and put them right up here. That's just one great use case for notes. Right? If we go back in here, the other thing I'll show you is the attachments, of course. This is great for attaching the contract that you have with the customer. Signed copies of estimates, change orders, those kinds of things. There's a lot of stuff here that's very handy to include in the attachments, right? Again, the rest of this is pretty straightforward. You can set their preferred payment method. You can set their terms. Delivery method, I always do send later. That means you're going to email it, not print it. Right? I never use this. Opening balance will automatically put an entry into opening balance equity. If there's an opening balance for the customer, I will normally just actually re-enter all the open invoices so I have all the details. But if anything, without using this, I would just create a journal entry or something, or create one invoice for the open balance. There's any number of ways. I just don't like doing this because I feel like it doesn't give you real vision into what you're doing with the information and where it's going, so I never use it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Last but not least that you need to know about customers in QuickBooks Online is this. Go to Reports. Okay, if it starts you off in Recommended, go to All Reports. And if you're in All Reports, you want to go here to Review Sales. And this is every report you could possibly want to run having to do with customers and sales. And of course, the last thing I'll say is that next you want to start learning how to customize reports so that you can take one of these reports and get even more specific about what you're looking at. But that, of course, is another subject for another day and another time in another video and another blog post, but on the same YouTube channel and Vimeo channel. That, my friends, is everything you need to know about your customers in QuickBooks Online. As always, I invite you, first of all, to subscribe to us on YouTube. Second of all, post your questions and comments below. I will get back to you with answers to them. Heck, I might even do a video responding to your question and mentioning you by name right out there on my YouTube channel. You never know. So post your comments and questions below. I'll get back to you. As always, I hope you enjoyed this, had some fun, learned something along the way. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you on the web.